Hey everyone, welcome back. The extraction genre is absolutely blowing up, isn't it? And 2026 is shaping up to be the year it gets really, really diverse. We're talking about moving way beyond the same old formula. So today, we're going to take a look at the games leading that charge, the most promising online co-op extraction games headed our way.
But hey, before we dive in, if you're into these deep dives and you want to stay on top of what's coming next in gaming, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel. All right, that's it. Let's get into our first world.
First on our list is Mistfall Hunter. So picture this, you're thrown into this dark, kind of post-apocalyptic world that's just steeped in Nordic mythology. The whole premise is that you're a resurrected warrior, a guild hunter, and your mission is to venture into this deadly, corrosive mist to harvest a super precious substance called Gildan blood. The whole atmosphere they're building sounds incredibly thick and oppressive. It's all about pure survival against some serious odds. Now, let's break down the specs because they tell a great story. It's a third-person PvPvE extraction RPG. That third-person view is a big tactical decision. It gives you way more awareness of your surroundings when danger is literally coming from all sides. The RPG elements promise some deep character progression, and the 3-player team size really puts the focus on tight squad coordination. But the most important thing here, full cross-platform co-op for PC and Xbox right at launch in July 2026. That is huge. It means a healthy, unified player base from day one, which can honestly make or break a new online game. And here's where the co-op gets really serious. It all starts with your team build. They've mentioned 5 distinct classes, including a support-focused one called the Seer, so right away you know that having defined roles is going to be critical. Once you're in the Mist, you're facing down monstrous AI Mist Lords and other unpredictable player squads. But the finale, this is where it gets real. Each member of your squad has to find their own extraction point, and you all have to make it out. It's not enough for one person to escape. If one of you goes down, the whole team loses everything from that run. It's a design that really commits to a truly cooperative, high-stakes experience.
Okay, from those misty forests, we are jumping onto the rails of a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Enginefall swaps fantasy for pure diesel and grit, with all the action taking place on these massive, constantly moving megatrains.
The specs for Enginefall are pretty fascinating. It's a first-person shooter, which makes combat feel super immediate and intense. But check out that survival sandbox tag. That suggests a much deeper game than just raiding. We're probably talking crafting, base building, and some long-term goals. The real game changer, though, is the persistent shared world. This means the world evolves. What you do has lasting consequences, even when you're offline. It turns the game from just a series of disconnected matches into a living, breathing world. And that persistence leads to one of Enginefall's most ambitious features, Marauder trains. These aren't just some cosmetic guild hall. These are fully functional, player-owned mobile bases that you have to build, upgrade, and actively defend from raids by other crews. It creates this deep, strategic metagame of territory control and resource protection, all happening on the move. It's a home base that you actually have to fight for. So if the Marauder trains are your home, the Titan trains are your target. Think of them as colossal mobile dungeons on wheels. The design creates this really cool, natural flow for every raid. You board at the back, in the so-called slums, and you have to fight your way forward through tougher and tougher enemies to get to the high-value loot in the guarded engine rooms up front. It's a classic dungeon crawl, just on a constantly moving train in a persistent world.
Now for a major shift in both tone and business model. Our third game is Rules of Engagement, The Gray State, and it's taking us into what the devs are calling the Horrorverse. The whole aesthetic is dark, gritty, drawing inspiration from modern internet horror legends, and it's all wrapped up in a free-to-play tactical shooter. That tactical tag is super important here. This game is all about careful positioning and strategy, not just twitch reflexes. But the biggest factor is that free-to-play model. By launching on both Steam and the Epic Game Store, it's aiming for a huge day-one audience, which is absolutely critical for long-term health. And yep, we see that 3-player trio again, which is really solidifying itself as the standard for tactical squads in the genre. And right here, you can see the game's tactical heart. It is all about team composition. You've got Sledge, the heavy juggernaut, who's your frontline tank, creating space with a shield and hammer. Then you have Pyro, the battlefield control expert, using fire and gas to deny areas. And finally, Phantom, the stealthy assassin built for taking out key targets. The way these distinct roles play off each other means a coordinated trio is always going to have a massive advantage. It puts the emphasis squarely on teamwork over just individual skill. Every single match in the gray state is going to hinge on this one critical decision. You can play it safe, cut your run short, and get out at an early, safe extraction point with whatever gear you've managed to scavenge. Or you can risk it all for the Vertex. If you secure this artifact, it calls in a single, heavily contested helicopter extraction, which basically guarantees a chaotic, multi-squad firefight for the ultimate prize. This choice ensures every match can end with a dramatic, high-stakes gamble.
All right, so far we've been in standalone worlds. Now we're plugging into one of the most legendary universes in all of gaming. EVE Vanguard is the ground-based FPS component of the massive space MMO EVE Online. You are a war clone, a soldier whose actions on the ground are designed to have a direct, meaningful impact on the giant starship battles raging in orbit above. The ambition here is just immense. The sandbox tag promises a lot of freedom and emergent gameplay, but that direct link to EVE Online is the standout feature. Completing a contract or sabotaging an enemy installation on foot can actively help your corporation win a massive player-driven war in space. That creates a level of consequence for your actions that you rarely see in this genre. And on a squad level, they have a down but not out system that allows for revives, giving coordinated teams a chance to recover from mistakes. And this is exactly why that 3-player squad size is so vital in Vanguard. Sure, you can play solo, but the game is clearly balanced around teamwork. The source specifically points to these things called Nemesis drones, which are described as massive, boss-like flying machines. Taking one of those down is going to require the combined, focused firepower of a full squad. It's a clear signal that cooperation isn't just encouraged, it's essential for tackling the game's biggest challenges.
Okay, now we shift again, this time into a world of Japanese dark fantasy and cosmic horror. Kaidan is carving out a really unique niche by focusing almost entirely on brutal, skill-based melee combat. This isn't a shooter. This is all about mastering the blade against terrifying mythological creatures known as yokai. Two key phrases on this slide really define Kaidan: PvE and Extraction Light. By removing player versus player combat, the focus shifts entirely to mastering skill-based melee against tough AI. The team size also gets a bump up to 4 players, which allows for more complex team compositions to take on the yokai. And that emphasis on brutal, skill-based melee means success is going to come down to timing, parries, and coordinated attacks, not just who has the best gear.
So, what is Extraction Light? Well, this lays it out pretty clearly. The core loop is familiar. You go into a dangerous zone, you gather resources. The stakes are still super high because if your entire squad wipes, you lose everything from that run. The light component is simply the removal of that PvP threat, which can sometimes feel a bit unpredictable or unfair. This creates an experience that's perfect for players who love the high-stakes loop, but prefer to focus on mastering challenges against the game itself.
Now, this mechanic adds a fascinating strategic layer on top of the action. You don't just have one character, you manage a whole roster of seekers. After a tough run, a character might need time off to recover, not just physically, but mentally too. This implies some kind of persistent injury or trauma system. And it forces you to think long-term. You can't just spam your best character over and over. You have to rotate your squad, manage their well-being. It adds a compelling management sim element to the whole thing. And for our final game, we're taking a hard turn into the absurd and the satirical. Gig Crawler frames its demonic dungeon crawling through the lens of the modern gig economy. You're a freelancer, hired by some mega corporation to take on gigs that just so happen to be clearing out monster-infested labyrinths. These specs really confirm its unique position. As an extraction roguelite, we can expect procedurally generated dungeons and runs with some kind of meta progression that carries over after you die. Like Kaidan, it's a primarily PvE experience for up to 4 players, ensuring the entire focus is on working together to overcome whatever the dungeon throws at you, which is a perfect fit for the satirical theme of being exploited coworkers.
This quote from the developers perfectly summarizes the game's whole philosophy: flexing, not fighting. The goal is not to create some hyper-competitive PvP arena. Instead, the multiplayer experience is all about cooperating and showing off your cool builds and cosmetics to your friends. It's about flexing your success, not fighting other players for it. It's a really deliberate choice aimed at fostering a positive, collaborative community. This mechanic is absolutely central to the co-op experience. Your build, which you customize through these soul mods, is locked in the moment you accept a gig. You can't change your gear or skills mid-run. What this does is it forces your squad to actually communicate and strategize before you enter the dungeon. Preparation becomes just as vital as execution. It really front-loads the teamwork, making sure everyone is on the same page before the first demon is even slain.
Looking at all 6 of these games together, one thing is crystal clear. 2026 isn't just about more extraction games. It's about different extraction games. We've got Nordic fantasy, mobile train dungeons, corporate satire, grand strategy warfare. The genre is branching out in every direction imaginable. It's exploring new themes, new mechanics, and new ways to create these high-stakes cooperative experiences. The whole genre is evolving, and it's proving that this core loop is a powerful foundation for a vast and exciting future.